In the previous video, we've learned how to install several components on Mac OS X, things like Homebrew, Composer, Node.js, Boa, Gulp, and we also checked for the version of PHP installed together with our operating system. And the version we have, we'll just quickly check, PHP-V or -- version, whichever one you prefer. On my machine, it's 5.5.27, and I want to upgrade it to version 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear the screen again, Command K. And what I'm going to start with, we are going to actually use Homebrew to upgrade version of PHP. The first thing I need to do is to add a few repositories to Homebrew, basically, so that it has somewhere to check for certain packages which we might want to install either now or later in the future. So the first thing I need to do is to type brew space tab, and then we go in one of the repositories I want to add is called dubes, so homebrew/dubes. And if we hit return, this will add the repository. As you can see, tabbed 38 formulas. And I'm just going to clear the screen again with Command K. Another one, brew tab. This one is going to be homebrew as well. And then versions. And that's now also been added. As you can see, 265 formulas. And then brew tab homebrew/homebrew-php and hit return. And there we go, 557 formulas. Okay, so what I need to do now is simply use brew, install PHP 7.0 and hit return. And the installation of PHP 7 begins. This may take a little while, so I'm going to pause the video and come back to you once it's finished. So the installation has now completed. One important thing here is if you are using version lower than 10.8 of OS X, then you will probably have to prepend the path user local as bin to your include path. If I just open the new terminal instance here in a new tab, and let's quickly do nano squiggly line /full-stop bash profile. And as you can remember, we've been exporting this path equals, and then we prepended this user local bin, and then colon, which is basically the path separator on this operating system. And then we appended the existing path, include path to it. So we basically overwritten this path variable here by prepending this new value. Now, if you are using version older than 10.8, then you would have to prepend this to make sure that system is using the homebrew version of all the installations that we actually all the applications that we are installing with the homebrew. So if we copy this, you would have to do something like, and I'm just going to quickly show you because we won't be saving this because obviously I'm on the newer system. So you would do something like this, probably if you're on a version lower than 10.8. So I'm just going to go for Control X. No, I don't want to save changes. So N, and we can, if we just go back, and I think that's everything from this information that's been displayed here. So we can clear the screen. So Command K. If I try and check the version in the same instance where we actually installed the PHP 7, if I just do PHP-V, you can see it still shows us PHP 5.5.27. But if I switch back to the tab which I've opened earlier, and I try here, PHP-V, there we go, 7.0.3. And if I check which PHP, which should show me where is this PHP actually fetched from, it tells me that it's inside of the user local bin. And this is the PHP binary, which is actually being used. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, if you installed a different version of PHP using Homebrew before, then you would have to unlink it by simply calling brew unlink PHP, let's say 5.6 would be simply PHP 5.6 and then hit return. But obviously I haven't installed anything before version 7 because it's a fresh installation, as I've mentioned earlier. So all I'm going to do now is simply clear this line using Control U on my keyboard. And that's everything that we need to do in order to upgrade our version of PHP to version 7, which we already running. I'm just going to close this tab, Command W on my keyboard, and stay in this new instance of the terminal window. What I'm going to do now is to install PHPUnit for our unit testing. So let's start with opening the Chrome. There we go. And in Chrome, what I'm going to do is to navigate to phpunit.de. And there we go. If we go to getting started, all the instructions are here. So what we need to do is simply use widget to first download the FAR file. So I'm going to navigate to my home directory, so CD and squiggly line. If I now check pwd where I am, it's user Sebastian, which is my home directory. And if I check ls to see what I've got inside of this directory, if I want to see everything, including the hidden files and all the information about those files and directories, then I'm going to use ls space -al. Okay, so we know what we've got. What I need to do now, I'm just going to clear the screen, use this widget with the full URL to download this phpunit.far file. So we hit return, and there we go. The file should now be here. If I just do ls, you can see phpunit.far is here. Now, next thing that this documentation says is change the permissions to it. So if we go back, I'm just going to copy this line, return, nothing, you won't see anything after that. Once you've returned, but the permissions have now been changed, and now we want to move this far file to user local bin and rename it from phpunit.far to just phpunit, as you can see at the end of this path. So if we go back to our terminal and simply sudo, because it needs administrative privileges in order to move to this directory, and obviously we moving, so mv command and then the file which we want to move and where we want to move it, plus the name if we want to rename it. So what I'm going to do is now simply hit return, and it's going to ask me for a password. So I'm just going to type in the password, and that's all done. So all I need to do now, as you can see, if I just move this terminal window a little bit, it tells me to just check version. It's been globally installed, so we need to do phpunit. It just -v is going to do. Oh, sorry, no, it's not going to do in this instance. So phpunit -version. And there we go, it's 5.2.9 at the time of this recording. So we have PHPUnit installed globally. We can call it from anywhere within our file system. So next thing we are going to install is a SequelPro, which will allow us to interact with our MySQL database using GUI, graphical user interface. Obviously, if you want to use terminal, you don't have to install it but I tend to use it quite often. It's quite a helpful tool. So let's quickly navigate to SequelPro.com. There we go, and we have this download button. Let's quickly click it and download it from wherever it's downloading from. Once it's downloaded, let's quickly start the installation. There we go. And all I need to do is to move it to the, if I just quickly open the Finder window and just move it to my applications. There we go. So if we just drag it across to applications, and that's all we need to do. We can move it from here. There we go. So that's SequelPro installed. If I just quickly call it SequelPro, there we go. Yes, we want to open it, and here it is. The interface, basically our graphical user interface to interact with the databases. You have 3 tabs, standard, socket, and SSH. Depending on how you want to connect to your database, you can choose the relevant option. Okay, so I'm going to close it for now because obviously I'm not going to be connecting to the database at the moment. Let's close this. One last thing before we finish this video, however, I'd like to generate the SSH keys. I'm in my home directory, pwd, yes. If I just do ls-al, as you can see, we don't have here the directory called /SSH. And this is where our SSH keys would be stored by default. That would indicate, obviously, I haven't got any SSH key generated yet. So in order to generate the SSH key, we need to use the command ssh-keys key gen and then space -t space RSA and hit return. And that prompts us to provide the file name. I'm going to leave it as default, which is going to be _RSA, and it's going to be stored, as you can see, in my home directory, within the directory starting with the full stop, which indicates that it's going to be a hidden directory, full stop SSH, and then obviously the name of the file. So I'm going to keep it as default, so simply hit return, and now it prompts me to provide a passphrase. So make sure that you choose something that you remember later on. While you type the passphrase, you won't see anything changing. The cursor stays in the same position, so obviously don't worry about this if you don't see anything. That's how it works. So I'm going to choose a simple password here and hit return once you're done, and then you're going to have to confirm it. So you type it again and hit return, and there we go. It tells me that the SSH key has been generated, and I'm now going to clear the screen here. So Command K on the keyboard, ls-al, and as you can see, now we have this full stop SSH directory created. If I now clear the screen again and navigate to this directory, so cd SSH with a full stop at the beginning, and now I do LSAL, there we go, and you can see we have two files. One is a private key and the other one is a public. Public is easily identified by the full stop and PUB appended to it. So our SSH keys are now generated. We are ready to move to the next video.